Every Monday we get you motivated, pumped up and levitated. How of life elated. Top is where we located. Yeah, we here to grow, here to reach our goals on Felicia Inspires Radio Show. You are now listening to the Felicia Inspires Radio Show, airing every Monday at 9:30 a.m. Tune in and set the tone for your day.
Hello. We are back again with another episode on the Felicia Inspires Radio Show, and I'm your host, Miss Felicia Inspired, here to guide you on this journey of positivity and empowerment. And you can tune in to a brand new episode every Monday at 9:30 a.m. And you can always listen to us 24/7 on iHeartRadio, Pandora, and Spotify. So we're going to go ahead and get into our episode today, and it is centered around narcissism. And this segment is called Red Flags in Recovery. Today we have Miss Laquita Chaney, and she's going to introduce herself and let you guys know who she is.
Hello, everyone. I am Laquita Chaney, and I am telling my story about a 15-year relationship that I had with a narcissist. But the most important thing and reason why I wanted to do this show, because I want to educate others to be able to identify red flags and know when it's time to go and not to continue the relationship. So we're going to get into some deep stuff, but we're going to keep you interested. And I'm happy to be here, Felicia.
Thank you, girl. I am so excited. And she also has a TV show episode coming up on the Felicia Inspired Show, and her episode will be airing this upcoming Sunday. So make sure that you tune in, and that date is October 27th at the hour or 9:00 p.m. So make sure that you download the Delta TV app so that you can tune in each and every time we drop a new episode. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. So Laquita, what is your definition of narcissism? Because this is a new topic here that has become very, very popular now, and a lot of people don't even know what narcissism is. Could you go ahead and explain that to us?
Right. So I would have to agree with you on that, because I'm just becoming aware of it and still learning, and I came about it 2 years ago in a therapy session. But however, to me, my definition of a narcissist is someone who lacks certain gifts or lack thereof, will go out and search and find those that are driven, passionate, go-getters, hustlers, because they have the drive and everything that they don't have. And they try to connect with that person to then gradually steal all their energy, all their power, all their light, to make them shine, because they aren't capable of doing so. So they are praised who specifically look for certain people to target, to grab off their energy, or basically ride their coattail and eventually take over.
Okay, and I went ahead and researched narcissism, and the definition of it is excessive interest in or admiration of oneself and one's physical appearance. And the definition of a narcissistic person is a mental health condition, which is basically, and honestly, people don't even know that they have it, right? This is a condition that people don't even know that they have. And it's saying that these people unreasonably want a high sense of knowledge of their own importance, that they seek too much attention and want people to admire them. And people with this disorder may lack the ability to understand and care about other people's feelings. So that being said, it's one of those things where they unknowingly do these things. And they don't even recognize it. And even being narcissistic, they don't even want to acknowledge it.
So the crazy thing is because ever since I've identified it and realized who I was with was narcissist, I started studying deep. And statistics really show that about between 98 to 96% will never seek help or identify or relate to them being a narcissist. And those that are still can't fully recover from it. It is a deep-rooted mental illness is what it is. So it's very true.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And even with you opening up, we really appreciate you for opening up and sharing your story on the Felicia Inspires TV show about your experience going through this for so many years. And we're not going to dive really, really deep into it because we're going to save that juicy information
But
for
the
your
show,
episode. But could you give us a overview of your experience itself and how you overcame?
so in a nutshell, basically, I felt I met the man of my life. Everything that I wanted to accomplish, he wanted the same accomplishments. It seemed like a perfect pair. He wanted the same goals and would seem to be driven as I was. But once we got into a relationship, got married, started having children, as I got a few years in, I started realizing that things were changing. You weren't as ambitious. You weren't capable. You were doing other things, lying, cheating, and it definitely was not a image of the man that I dreamt of or who I thought I was going to be in a marriage with. But what I noticed was, as over the years, it was scaling away at me and basically chipping all of those positive attributes and drive that I have onto them because he lacked it. And so they're solely about their image, and the image that that opposite person portrays is what they want. So I found myself just all of a sudden just being in a I would say in a sunken place, trying to figure out how the heck did I get here. But it was like a hole dug up for me gradually over the years to put me in it, for me to try to figure out how to crawl out. And then he's up here at the top, superior to me, because he's taking all the energy for me to thrive and better his appearance. So to me, over the course of 15 years, it was a lot of damage done, but I didn't realize it till I was halfway in. It was about 7 to 8 years after the fact. And that was a lot to deal with physically, mentally, and emotionally.
And could you just kind of discuss some common signs? What was your first like? What did you first notice? Even
So,
when you started recognizing, at what point did you that sparked your attention to say, you know what, this is narcissistic behavior?
right. So, one of the things, I got to a point where I felt like I was crazy. I was losing my mind. I couldn't remember anything, and it's just not me because I'm sharp. So I started going to a therapist and a psychiatrist trying to figure out if I was having a mental breakdown or what was happening to me. I thought it was based upon the job that I had at the time. So I thought it was just dealing with a lot of stress. Then in the sessions, I found out that it was due to me dealing with a narcissist that I was married to. So I'm like, oh gosh, well, what is that? And after the education, I'm seeing that what it does is, what they do is they stand in front of you when you first meet, and they ask you, tell me about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So we all excited. We want to sell ourselves because the first person you're meeting is a salesman. It doesn't matter who you are. You want to tell great things about yourself, right?
Most definitely.
So we normally go first because the guys normally ask. So I'm feeding all along my aspirations, what I want to do. And then I say, well, okay, well then tell me about yourself. All of a sudden it matches exactly what I'm saying. And I'm like, oh my God, this is ideal for me. But what they do is they mirror you because they want you to fall for them, and they know that everything that you stated that you want to do and what your goals is what they want to do, but they're not capable. So you're the perfect candidate. So in over time, they'll sit and they'll form, they'll put through the effort to try to get stuff done and all that, but then things start falling apart because they're not capable. And so at that point, they begin to get frustrated and start scaling at you. And basically, if you ask a question or you come home, walk through the door, and they instantly got a problem with you. Oh, you got that on today? Oh, you did this today? Who are you with today? Like all this stuff, because their insecurities about what you're accomplishing, what you're out doing, they then to put it off on you. But what they do is, when you catch them in the act, you ask the question, they deflect and they throw the question back on you. That's number one sign of a narcissist. And they want you to feel horrible about yourself. They want you to feel low. They want to bring you down to them. But one key sign that I know is that everything that they committed to or stated that they could do at the beginning, take a look at it thoroughly and see how much of that have they accomplished. If they hadn't done any of that, they were just mirroring you, baby. And they are a narcissist. Definitely what they are. They have no feelings, no emotions, nothing.
And how long did it take you to realize that this was that what this was turning into?
So we were together 15 years and married 13. So I started identifying and seeing signs at I would say in between year 10 and 12.
Mm-hmm.
I started noticing signs. I just didn't know what it was until about year 11 maybe. And then I started taking the information from my therapist and the knowledge that I was gaining to be able to read more and dig deeper into it and figure out, like, oh, yeah, he does that. Oh, yeah, he does that too. And that helped me kind of understand and learn it. But I had been in for 10 years for sure before I even knew.
Was he aware that you were taking the therapy sessions, or was he going with you? How was that?
So he was aware that I was going to therapy sessions, but like I said, I thought it was due to stress on the job because I was working in corporate America at the time. And he just heavily weighed on that and said, yeah, I think it's a job. You may need to take a break. You may need to take off for a while and do things of that nature. So he kind of helped me chime in on what I thought was wrong with me.
Wow, that's that's crazy.
Mhm.
And while you were going through that, how were you feeling on the inside, even before you realized that this was narcissistic behavior, and up until the point where you started to see the signs? How were you feeling? Like, were you ready to get out, or were you trying to find a way out, or was you trying to fix it?
At this point, I was mainly concerned with myself because I knew I wasn't sharp as I normally was. On the job, I was slipping. I would be forgetful. I would lose money and it would lose my keys all the time. I'm like, what is going on? My memory is sharp. I'm sharp. What is happening to me? So my main thing was to focus on the help, getting the help that I needed to make sure that I got back to the sharpness that I was. But I didn't realize that that's part of it, of what the confusion that the narcissist makes for you. It makes you kind of crazy. So my mental was being tainted with, but I didn't understand because that was for 10 years worth of things that I was going through and I didn't realize it. So I just thought, hey, maybe take a break from the corporate job for a minute, go on a leave of absence, get your mind together for about 6 months and you're back at it. But that was not the case because I was even worse after I took time off from work.
Wow. And I know you had, yeah, you guys both share two beautiful children. How
Mhm.
were your children affected in the process?
Well, during the process, it seemed as if they were doing well and they were happy to have a two-parent household and all of that. It was only until I got to the point where I was fed up and I actually put him out. And the biggest fear that I had was I was trying to really keep the family together because I didn't want the kids to have to go to therapy or have
Mhm.
come home with other issues or things like that because they have a broken home. But I said, you know what, I'm gonna suck it up. I'm gonna have an adult conversation with them. They are of age to understand. I sat them down and I told them, like, hey, mommy and daddy are splitting. We are getting ready to go our separate ways. He's decided to move out, this, that, and other. And they were happy. They were happy. They actually stated that the energy in the home was different and more positive,
Mhm.
and that they knew that mommy was doing everything anyway. And they
Wow.
saw the amount of stress that I would be dealing with. My character and my attitude was really bad. But I didn't know this until they told me to my face.
Wow.
Right.
That's that's so, like, that's it's unbelievable, because when you have children involved, you have to maneuver a certain way, because you have to still
Right.
remain to keep that image and
Right.
not let them see you sweat, not let them see mom and dad going through. So
Right.
to me, how did that take a toll on you maintaining that persona?
I'm gonna tell you, once I figured that out at the end, I'm like, man, I suck as a parent because
Oh,
all
wow.
I did was make him look great in their eyes. So I'm like, at what point did I not succeed? Because why would they think this or feel this or already know this? And I was focusing hard on not doing that. But at the end of the day, kids are smart. They pick up on signs, they pick up on gestures, they pick up on attitudes, movements. So there could have been a lot of things that I really didn't pay so much attention to, and I may have missed that helped them get to the point where they understood what was happening.
Wow. That's and I think that, we as parents, well, I can't even say we because I'm not a parent yet, but from a parent standpoint, it is very, very hard because you want that family, you want to be one of the ones to say, from the time your kids grew up to the time that they leave the home, that they
Right.
have that two-parent household. And how's his delivery even after the
So
divorce?
the crazy thing is that we had both agreed, and I even came up with an elaborate story after all of this to even still protect his image. That I was willing to endure and go through just so the kids could have a softer blow and that their family was breaking apart.
Hmm.
But one thing that narcissists do, they will not take ownership of anything. And at the end of the day, basically he knew the reason why everything was called quits, because he did one of the things that is just unacceptable to me. And he wasn't willing to face coming out stating that to the children, because these are children that he's raised since day one. So that he's the only father that they know. So it was going to take a lot out of him, and it would have to take him to take ownership of what he did to me, which caused me to say I wanted out the marriage. And because he wasn't willing to take ownership, because he was worried about his appearance and how the kids would think, what the
Hmm.
family would think, he just always dodged the subject. So it left me to have to sit them down and have the conversation by myself.
Hmm. Wow. And how was your support system going through the process?
Whew. Um, for the most part, I did have a great deal of support. Um, in the beginning, it was a little tough because I was raised on whatever happens in the house stays in the house. So narcissists are very good with getting everybody to love them, to think that they're this most amazing person, because they are concerned about their image, nothing else. So if you really think about it, being in a relationship for 15 years and you hadn't said anything nor complained or nothing, when you come out the woodwork and you say something, people's like, oh, okay, I know you're telling the story. You're not telling the truth because you've been doing this for 15 years. Why you wait now to say all the horrible things that's happening? And people don't understand that, you being raised a certain way to work it out amongst your spouse, then you're going to look crazy because everybody loves the
Hmm.
spouse. You seem to be showing that everything is peachy cream king on that side, and it's really not. So it took me a while for a lot of my family members to really grasp and understand, like, oh, this is serious, like she's not lying, because I had to
Hmm.
make up for the 15 years of covering up that I did, trying to resolve the issues in my home. So
Hmm.
it wasn't great at the beginning, but towards the middle and the end, because they saw me slipping away so fast, they then start showing those signs to those that they were trying to look impressive to, and they was like, "Oh yeah, I got you. You're not lying. I see it for myself." So it took some time for me to get across to the family, but eventually at the end, I have a support system that is the most amazing I've ever had, and support me. And like Quita, tell your story. Everybody needs to know this. And so many people in my family actually went through and endured the same situation, and I didn't even know.
Hmm. Wow.
Hmm.
And that's something that people don't really want to share because it's one of those things where you don't want to put your business in the streets.
There you go.
And so people don't really
Absolutely.
want to share these things. And honestly, a lot of the issues come from a lack of knowledge.
There you go.
Some people, they'll mistake it from just a person having insecurities,
Right.
when
Exactly.
really it's something else. And I think that when women stand in their power and when we have a status, it kind of interferes with that man's, his, I guess his what I'm trying to say here, it interferes with his manpower, his
Yes.
masculinity.
Exactly.
And I think that's a lot of where this narcissistic behavior comes from, because no man wants to stand down and lay down his head and say, you know what, you're standing in your feminine energy. Don't no man want to say that, but at the end of the
Right.
day, they should acknowledge that. But also, being a leader, know how to lead, but know how to lead and allow your spouse to
Right.
lead as well, but not in a competitive way. not trying to steal the spotlight, be in the limelight. You know, you cannot have that type of behavior and expect anything to last.
Exactly. I always say this, and I've said it so many times. An alpha male needs the alpha female.
Most definitely.
Because a lot of times the alpha male is taking harder blows than us. And who else would be the best person to hold him up? An alpha female. But depending on the weakness of that actual male or individual, they won't see it as that. They see it as something that makes them look as if they're less of a man. And it's not that. It's being what you call equally yoked. Somebody who's able to pick up wherever you lag or, you know, stopped, or, you know, what you work as a team. But most don't see it as that. And I really feel like they just put a lot of pressure on themselves, and it causes them to just really have nervous breakdowns, to be honest.
Most definitely. And that's a lot of what it is. And I think that over time, women have evolved into being alpha females, because you know, back in the day, it was the women rely on the man, and it was never women just having businesses, women bringing in majority of the income. It was never that. It was always women relying on the man to take care of the household, take care of the family. And I think that men recognize that women are out here killing it. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're out here, we're taking over the world. And I think a lot of men have an issue with that. But I think that a lot of men don't want to recognize and, you know, acknowledge the fact that women, we are in a day and time now where women have more resources, they have more knowledge. Men lack because they don't have the knowledge, and they think they get stuck in their ways. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth. Like, they get stuck in their ways, and they always want to believe that they know everything. Right.
And that's true, but I do agree with that. But I think that God blessed us, each sex, with a great tool and gift. Women can be very anal, thorough, and really through thinkers. Like, you're not gonna really do something unless you think it through and then think of what if this happened and this happened. When the guys really think about it and they, I want to do this and I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to make it happen, but they don't really come through with a thorough plan. And I think that has allowed us as women to be a little bit more in the forefront, because our plan and the delivery is the strategy is a little bit better than them.
And I think that out of all honesty, I think men get this head of household, that they get that twisted. Why I say that is because traditionally head of household means, or if you think about it, head of household means you take care of everything, right? But I think that men, they get it twisted, because it's like, okay, you want to be the head of household, but do you want what is required to be the head of household? And
are you capable?
Are you capable? But it all starts out with acknowledging that, but do you want to do what it takes to be capable? Right? And they don't want to say, you know what, I need help. That's the last thing they want to do. If you don't align yourself, how can you ever get help? But it has to be to a point where it's one of those self things. It boils down to pride.
There you go.
It's okay. Like, it's okay to say, you know what, babe, I need help. Can you help me with this? Like, I don't know. Yeah. But you have to first step to bring that pride down in order to get somewhere. And you have to stay, be hand in hand with your partner, have that communication, and have that understanding, because even, as a woman, well, anybody, we can't read minds. We don't know what goes through nobody's head. No. And it's one of those things where you have to communicate with your partner and like, babe, we either gonna do this together, but most men are stubborn and they do not want any help. Like, they don't. And that's a lot of where it goes downhill.
But but that's the thing, whereas it comes in as a partnership, you partner with someone that is great at the things that you lack of, and then you pick up the slack. Like it works hand in hand, and then at that point you are a phenomenal couple and a power couple. That's what I consider a power couple. But a lot of times the males, they struggle with pride. And that's one thing us as women, if we don't know, listen, I don't know nothing about this, but you are great at it. How about I'm great at this section? How about I take care of this and you help me with this? And it kind of be a trade-off. And that way you come up with something phenomenal, but they don't know how to do that.
And that is true. And I think that when people say power couple, people don't really understand what power couple means.
No.
And I just was on the Shade Room page on Instagram, and I saw where they had Trina on there, and she was saying that she runs all of the money. Her husband brings all the money to her, and there were thousands of comments centered around the conversation.
She didn't sign a prenup.
That's it. And I think that, when you had an understanding, and it's communication. We don't know what type of person her husband is. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And I did read a comment where one person was saying that she should have left that. She should have never even told about it because it makes him look like she has control. But that's not the case. You know what I'm saying?
That's to a simple-minded individual.
Simple-minded, for sure. And it's like we don't know what type of financial habits this person has. We don't know. But it ain't even for us to understand. But but when you put information out into the public, we all are entitled to our own opinion. Right. But I feel as though, we as women, we do carry that extra, awareness of where finances should be. And I respect it. You know what I'm saying? What works for you might not work for somebody else, and vice versa. But I think that, that's a prime example. It's a prime example.
I agree with that. And the most important thing is whatever works for you two works for you two. It may not work for 10, 12 other couples, but if it works for you, then you keep doing it. It's nobody else's business. But if you ask the question and you share it, it is what it is, but it works for them.
Most definitely.
So no one should be casting judgment on that. It works for them. I thought it was really dope. I mean, if she's at the point where she is, I think that she is adult enough and real enough to say whether she needed a prenup or not.
Oh, for sure. Most definitely. And she's been out here in the game years on years. So she definitely made a decision, and I think that even going into anything that, and I won't get too deep into it, but I think that, we all have to take things into consideration because you don't know a person until you know a person.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? You just don't know people, and people change over time. But even in your situation, what kind of advice or strategy could you give someone who's going through a similar situation as yours?
I guess first off, if you are as knee deep as I was in it, in realizing after 10 years, at that point, a lot of damage has been done mentally. And for one, I would say that you do need to seek help and talk to someone on your own. But outside of that, in your midst of your healing, you have to strategize an exit plan. Because at this point, they've gotten away with this for so long. If you do a knee-jerk reaction in any way, it could really go wrong. I would really be lying to you if I said there weren't days that I felt like I couldn't go to sleep because I didn't know if they were going to snap and take me and my kids. So in the approach, you got to carefully think about a well thought out approach on how to really exit, because if you do the wrong move, it could end everybody's life. So if I had anything to give to someone, is to those that have been in it for a while and just now acknowledging it, at least 10 or plus years over it, you really need to start seeking help and getting your mental together, because it's going to take a strong mind to strategize how to leave that. Because what we are in at that moment, I didn't even know what it was, but it's a trauma bond. They turn around, they torment you continuously for days and days and days, and they turn around and love bomb you for at least half of a day. And that, all we focus on is that love bomb, all the beautiful things that they're saying, and you fall in love again. But it's that trigger where it keeps you in a yo-yo. And so when it's time, it's just like being a drug addict. When it's time for you to let it go and walk away, it's kind of hard. But that's what that trauma bond does to you. So you got to take the time and make sure that you're mentally strong and have the ability to start exiting. Otherwise, you will always be stuck. Always be stuck. But for those that are new and just, dating, a lot of signs is that, you sit down and they hit you with, well, tell me about yourself. And if what you tell them mirrors what they're saying to you, that's one key sign. Someone who never takes ownership and throws it back in your face, that's a sign. Those that lack emotions, you could literally be crying in their face and they will not budge, no show no one sense of emotion at all. That's a good sign. One of the ones, oh me, woe me. I've been, every girl that I've been with did me wrong, took my money, cheated on me. Like, everything is a sob story. The whole deck of cards they've been dealt was just sour. You gotta ask more questions and be more probing to kind of see where it lies, because they always look at themselves as the victim.
Most definitely. And even as you begin to heal, as you begin to heal, how did that process begin? What can someone take on moving forward?
Well, for one, I had to shake my addiction because I was in a trauma bond. And even though I know the reason why I separated from him, and I know that was something that needed to be done, this is somebody I was with every day for 15 years. So I yearned for him and wanted him, and I, just wanted him around in my presence, but I knew it wasn't healthy for me. But I had to work on my mental and therapy, and going to a psychiatrist even also to help me identify that, yes, those are normal feelings that you're going to go through, but you got to continue through the process, because at the end of the day, we do know that this is bad for us. So that's one thing. But after that, just putting myself first. I learned in my therapy sessions is that how can an empty cup pour into anything else and fill it up? If I'm feeling empty, if I'm feeling low, if I'm feeling down, how can I pour into my kids? How can I make any of my clients better? How can I be better to anybody else if I'm empty? So one thing you have to do is, when you're working on your mental, start loving you. Start going through and talking through some of the pains that you didn't know bothered you, so you can hear from those as well. Being with a narcissist is just one stage. You'll be surprised from talking and seeking help what other things and what other traumas you went through and didn't even realize it. And you got to heal from that too. You just got to make yourself whole. Is one piece of advice that I would give them in order to be the best version to anybody else or help anybody else. But those were the steps that I took. And I'm still a work in process, because you got to realize this 15-year process. Statistics state that however long you were in this relationship, it's going to take half of the time to recover from it. So it's going to take me about 7 to 8 years to even get strongly back to me. But you got to continue to put in the work to do so.
And I know that we are doing a TV show episode around your story, and what can they look forward to on your episode?
Baby, they can look forward to a lot of transparency, a lot of honesty, and a lot of my bubbly personality that I'm getting back to. Yes. It's a lot of seriousness. It's a lot of sad moments, but in between, it's a lot of funny jokes and funny emotions, because that's the evidence of me healing. It took me a while to smile. It took me a while to tell a joke, but that's me. And for me, those that know me, those are signs that letting people know that I'm getting back to me. But it's going to be a great mixture. It's going to draw you in. You're going to relate to it. It's going to remind you of your best friend that's just crazy, say anything. It'll remind you of your relative, that just be like, oh no, I'm going to kill him. It just keeps you drawn in from beginning to end, with the perfect amount of those situations spread out amongst it.
And I think that as a turning point in your interview, we are going to hear some background on your mom in this marriage and this whole entire episode.
Ooh, girl.
It's definitely going to be juicy. We cannot wait for you guys to hear about it, because it's definitely going to be a twist that you do not want to hear. So can you give us a little insight on how did you feel in that moment of sharing your transparency with the world?
Let me just say this. When you came to me about the show and all that, I'm your number one fan, so I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And I feel like I'm one of the strongest women on this earth. But I'm gonna tell you something. I was scared, as I don't know what, because it was because I had to actually hold the mirror up in my face and really stand in it and tell the story and do not take eyes off of me.
Now it's like women nowadays, they got that man mentality.
The biggest struggle
I think we have evolved into I have to be the man and the woman, but we got to know our place if we're going to have a man. Right? You got to know when to humble down and say, you know what, I know what I can do, but I have to allow, if I want to be happy and be a person, I have to allow that man to stand in his masculinity, and I stay in my feminine. You know, that masculine energy is needed. God would not have created that if that wasn't what it's supposed to be, but we have some women who are way too dominant, you know, but that's not saying be submissive, you know, having somebody control you. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is
I was like,
we have to know our place. Yes, you got to know your place, and that's just it.
So I'm like, no, how dare I take some edits out? How dare I remove it? No,
so yeah, I think that, you know, it is very important that we do that. And you know, acknowledge our partners, show our partners that, babe, you know, I love you, you know, you do a good job, you know, I appreciate you, everything you do, it doesn't go unseen. I think that even those little things can take you a long way in a relationship.
I love my mom dearly, but one thing that I will forever remember, advice she gave me was, if you don't have peace in your house, you don't have peace.
No, they don't.
Like, you can go to a 9 to 5 and it's drama over there, you can go over here to other people's houses, drama over there, but when you lay your head every day, it needs to be peace. If it's not, then you have nothing.
And for someone who is, you know, trying to make it work, what kind of advice could you give them to give them that strength, to give them that hope that everything is going to be okay?
I'm telling my friends up to go out or do whatever, just to be in my pajamas in the kitchen, sipping wine and singing some K. Michelle, Keisha Cole, and just having the best time of my life.
Right.
I am living, honey.
And then
and that's what you're supposed to be doing, because it's a celebration of freedom. It's a celebration of breaking free. It's a celebration of the new you.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Even though, you know, we don't want to see the separation or having to ever separate from who we only do, you know, but it's a celebration of the new you and standing in your truth and walking in your own shoes and owning your truth. So that's definitely a huge accomplishment. But if you could just give any kind of encouragement to someone who are currently going through this and don't even know how to get out.
I
think
that
is the key to everything, in your own timing, not on your mama timing, not on your dad timing, not on your best friend timing, but on your own timing, because only you know when it's enough, only you know when you have enough. So it's one of those things where it's like you have to draw that line, but it all starts with self and within you.
Right. We don't want to go sit on the couch. We don't want to sit in a chair. We don't want to share our deepest heart, you know, hearted moments with people. But
that's it.
A lot of times,
is there anything else you would like to give anyone? And let us all know where we can find you online. How can we all connect with you?
They just hold it in. That's what's killing us.
You can find me on Facebook.
We got to learn how to open our mouths and talk through it, own it, and move forward. That gives you longevity in life. That allows you to be able to make sure those that come after you are aware of it and they don't go through it. But if you continue to move in a silent cycle, it will never end. And I'm one of those. And
Most
my
definitely.
family will
We
tell you,
appreciate
I am
you
one of
coming on the
those
show,
that I
sharing
beat
your
to the
expertise and
rhythm
your
of my own
advice,
drum.
and just giving
I'm
them that
not gonna follow the
motivation.
rules that
And
you
as
say.
we
I'm gonna
wrap
make
up
my
on
own
today's
because
episode, I just
to
want to
me,
remind
whatever
each
rules
and
you're
every one of
setting,
you
they
that
have to make sense. If they
in
don't make sense to me, I'm
silence,
not doing it.
in the silence
And
between
me
words,
holding
it's a
stuff
gentle
in
touch of a
and dealing
hand,
with years
a
and years
gaze
of
in the
hurt
eye.
and
There's a
trauma
language that
does
speaks
not seem like
directly
it's healthy.
to the heart.
And that's what
Nonverbal
is making our
communication is the
mental.
unspoken
So if I
thread that
could to
connects us
tell
to the ones
anybody,
we love.
your
It's
mental
just a
health
way of
will lead
saying,
to
I
whatever
see
issues you
you,
may
I
have.
feel
So
you, and
I
I'm
prefer to
here
say, hey,
without needing to
evaluate
even
yourself.
say
Just think
anything at
about
all.
where
So
you were 5
even
years
in a
ago or 10 years
relationship,
ago.
you know,
Do you feel mentally you're
thrive
still
not
at that
just
in
on
that
what you
space or
say,
you're
but
better?
you know, just
If
show
you
up for
feel like
each
you're
other,
significant decline, then you
quiet,
need to seek
meaningful,
help
everything. You
because
you know, you
something is
just have to
wrong.
be there for your partner.
And I think
And
by
the
going through
power
those
of a
sessions
simple
will help the
gesture,
person
whether it's, you know,
identify
just holding
what
someone's
avenue
hand,
they
you
need to
know,
take or what they're actually
offering, you know,
dealing
just
with to help them
reassuring a
through it.
smile, you know,
But
when
I
words
think
fall
that
short, you
there are
know,
great
words
things
can speak louder and
of
deeper than
relationships happening
anything we
here
could
today
ever
at
express
Urban
verbally.
Narcissism.
So
And
today,
even though mine
I
is
just
dealing with a male,
encourage you
I
to
want to
just
first
pay
and foremost say
attention to
this:
those
there are women narcissists.
subtle signs
And
from your
from what I
partner,
hear, they are 10
unspoken
times
moments
worse
in
than
your
the men.
relationship. And
But
it's
the
important to
percentages,
pay
it's about
attention. The
80%, 80 to
littlest things, you know,
85% that
mean
are
so
male.
much. So show
The
your
remainder are
love, your
women. So it's not
support,
very,
your
very
presence
many.
through the way
But
that, you
they
know, you
hurt just the
engage
same.
non-verbally with
So
those
with
who
that
matter the
being
most.
said, you
Sometimes
need
the
to
most
have your mental
important
together so that
conversations
you can have an
happen
understanding and study these
without
group of people
words.
so that
So
when you
thank you
go out
guys
on a
so much for
date,
tuning in
when you're in a
on the
relationship
Felicia
for a
Inspires
while,
Show. Tell a
you
friend to tell
soon,
a
when you get
friend that
educated
we
on it
are
and you're
doing
strong
good
enough to
things here on
understand
the
it, you will
Felicia
then take a
Inspires Radio
sign
Show.
and you can
And
leave
also,
sooner.
don't forget to go to our website
In
if
my
you are
episode, you would
looking to
know that
be
I
on
could
the
have
show
left
and you would
5
like
years prior
to
too.
come on
Okay?
and advertise your
But
business. We
due to
are
the
here
powers
for
that
you.
be,
Head
did
on
not
over
allow
to
me
the
to do
website
so.
at
So with that being said, it took
thefelicia-show.com.
me 5 more
Thank
years
you guys
later
so much.
to leave. But
Stay tuned.
the sooner you can identify it and remove yourself from the situation, the less trauma and healing you'd have to go through. So if I had to give any piece of advice, that would definitely be with mental first, for sure.
Yes, and everything happens in its own divine timing. Only you
Right.
know when it's time for you to walk away. Only you know when you had enough. Only you know when you're to that breaking point. So everything happened in its own divine timing. Even though you didn't walk away when you did, it's just
Right.
understand that it's a purpose for everything. So
Absolutely.
you know it happened when it needed to happen.
Yes.
And you know, and even as we wrap up today, you know, just want to take a moment to remind everyone who's listening, and you find yourself resonating with Laquita's story, and not just narcissism, but even if it's abuse, abandonment,
Domestic
infidelity, you know, it doesn't even matter. That you have to take this same thing and apply it to your personal situation. What you take out of it and how you apply it is what, you know, is how you, it's what you do with the information. And I tell it to everybody, you know, 1,000 people can get the same exact information, but it's what you do with it.
There you go.
It's what you do with it when you get it. So it's like you have to take that moment to
you gotta resonate with it.
Yeah. You have to resonate with it, and a lot of it comes with self-discovery. When you know you know, you have to know you as a person. You have to know yourself, because you can get lost within your marriage, you can get lost within your relationship, you can get lost in that person.
Absolutely.
And lose you. You know,
I lost myself being a mom and a wife. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you don't even know it, because as time goes by, you know, days turn into weeks, months, years,
Right.
and you don't even realize it until you're too far gone.
There you go.
And now you got that issue on top of the issue that you're already going through. So a lot of it, you know, it starts with self. It really does. It starts with self, and you have to take time to understand and acknowledge. If you don't acknowledge the problem, you can't find a solution.
Never will.
Right? You cannot move forward if you don't acknowledge the issue that's at hand. And then you go seek a solution to the problem.
Right.
So, you know, you just have to embrace your strength and remember that, you know, you have to know what you deserve.
There you go.
You have to set boundaries. Acknowledge that I am my own person, and I know that I'm not going to allow this, and I'm not going to allow that. But even when you setting boundaries, you gotta set boundaries for yourself. You don't just set boundaries for somebody else. You don't just say, well, I'm gonna set a boundary for this. No. You need to have your own self boundaries, because it all starts out with self.
You're right. And one valid point that you have, you gotta identify your self-worth. And if you have not done the work to heal yourself, to see and make yourself whole, you will never know what your self-worth really is. You may have an inkling of it, but at the end of the day, your self-worth is more valuable than anything else. And that will help you set your boundaries and your standards, and you stick to it.
Yes, and then, you hear that saying, you get under somebody else to get over someone else. But
that's the worst quote ever.
It is, and people actually live by that. And I think that a lot of people get that twisted. But it's like, if you and being in a marriage as long as you have been in, and even some people who've been in less amount of years and timing, you have to take that time to heal and find self.
You have
because whether we acknowledge it or not, at the end of the day, where you are, that's where that person is going to meet you. I meet you where you meet me. So it's like, so if you meet a person at your lowest, that's the type of energy you're going to get. So it's like, and it's like, when you're a healed person, you're going to get a healed person, and it always ties back to attraction, the law of attraction. You attract, what you are, you attract that. And you just have to align yourself with what you want, have your dreams and aspirations. And honestly, I think that for me, it's a good thing to write, and it's a good thing to, and I think that it helps when you see it. It's one thing to just say it, but it's one thing when you're seeing it on paper, when you're jotting things down and writing down, even if it's always down technical as, what do I want in a relationship? What do I want in a man? What do I want in a woman? When you identify what you want, you make the proper steps to get what you want. But also focusing in on what you are. Who do you want to be? If you found your dream man or dream woman, who do you want to present to that person? What's that dream, Laquita? What would that dream Laquita would be? What would that dream you would be if you found that person? And you really had to live in the moment without living in the moment. And I think that's a lot of, manifesting. And you have to really do things like that, because whether people believe it or not, you manifest these things. And I think that's really, really helpful to just take time to take time to do that self-love, that self-care, that self-discovery, and just get to know you. So I think that, let's just continue to support one another on our path to reclaiming our lives, and just encourage one another. And it's not don't count it robbery to go out and seek help. This is what help is for. This is what therapy is for. They didn't invent these things for no reason.
Right.
And I think that, we as Black people, and I'm just going to say, we don't believe in going to therapy because we feel like nothing's wrong. Yeah. We feel like nothing is wrong.
Well, they think that makes them crazy or crazy.
They makes them crazy, and it's not, but you have to have an outlet. We all are human at the end of the day. So if you have any last things that you want to say?
No, like the only thing I gotta say is you all gotta tune in, honey.
You got to tune in.
This first episode is going to blow your mind.
It's going to blow your mind
for the whole season.
Yes, it is.
We just scratched the surface, but what I'm telling you is, Felicia is so amazing, and her thought process, her visions are phenomenal. But the way she put this and her team put it together, it's going to show you something that you've never seen before, and it's going to have your mouth, your jaws drop every time you watch. But I'm talking about the season premiere, honey. Grab your glasses. Yeah,
grab your glasses.
Get your wine glasses, your shots, whatever you
get
need.
it out.
Because honey, it's going to be filled with a lot of tea.
It is. And just for background for anyone who are listening and you don't know what the Felicia Inspires Show is, we are a platform, a TV show where we are allowing women to come on, and even men, they're coming on, they're getting makeovers, and they're reclaiming their lives. They're being emotionally naked, sharing with the world their story, allowing the world to walk in their shoes, giving you a bird's eye view on what they have been through in their lives. And they're just opening the curtain and just saying, you know what, this is me. And I come as I am. And this is what the show is. And you can find us on the Delta TV network. We're on every platform. You can download it on your phone. You can take us with you everywhere that you go on your TVs, Roku TV, Apple TV, all of the platforms. You can find it, and you can see us every Sunday at 9:00 p.m. and on the radio show where you are hearing us now. We're here releasing brand new episodes every Monday at 9:30 a.m. So make sure that you tune in, but make sure that you tell a friend to tell a friend that we are doing great things here on the Felicia Inspires Show. And we thank you again for tuning in. Thank you guys so much. And thank you, Quita, for sharing with us your story.
So welcome.
You're welcome, girl. Thank you guys so much.